Well, today you find me scrambling along these rocks on this cliff top here, just on my way to what is the westernmost point of the British mainland, Scotland to the whole of Britain, the westernmost point on the mainland. And it is of course capped off, like all good points are, with a rather lovely lighthouse. Cracking day for it. I mean, just wonderful. Yesterday up on Benvironment, it was forecast to be a day like this, in fact, and it ended up being nothing of the kind. Today was forecast to be a bit murky, and it's turned out completely the opposite with blue sky. So I'm very, very pleased to be here on a good day. I was hoping to either be here on a really clear day like this, blue skies out over the sea, or a horrendously stormy day with gales and storms and waves breaking over the cliffs. So either I would have been happy. Anything in between, it would have been, if it's flat, light and a bit cloudy, wouldn't have been so good. It would have been fine anyway, but it's nice to have this or the other extreme. I've got this. The lighthouse was made in 1849, and you can see why it's plonked here, being quite a busy area for navigation of ships coming up and down, very stormy seas, lots of skerries, lots of rocks out. So a dangerous place, so obviously it needs a lighthouse. Built in 1849 by Alan Stevenson, who was one of the Stevenson dynasty. There was three? He was one of three brothers, but his dad and his granddad, they were all lighthouse builders, designers. And if you go all the way around the coast, you'll see them. They're at St Abbs, down in the borders. I'm trying to think of the other ones I've seen. Dunnet Head, Duncansby Head, Stour, I think as well. That was one of theirs, maybe. Yeah, they've done a lot. They did a lot. Alan Stevenson was the uncle of Robert Louis Stevenson, of course. So if ever there was a family that had lots of talent in it, it's them. But yeah, so they've built, I think, something like 97, 98 lighthouses between them over the course of about 150 years, from 1799 onwards to even the earliest part of the 20th century. So quite a big dynasty doing it. And this is their legacy, these beautiful, beautiful buildings. Oh, and here comes a friend I've made since I've been walking around here. There's two collies wandering around that keep going down to the shore and barking at birds that are sort of 2 feet from the sea. Getting worried it was going to fall in, but collies are very sure-footed, and I'm sure he or she knows what he's doing all too well. Just goes down there, barks at the sea and stares at it a bit, and then comes back up and sits with you. No, I'm not coming down. Quite an amazing spot. I've wanted to come here for a long time. That's the Sound of Mull all the way out there. That is, of course, Mull out on the other side. This is still Ardnamurchan here. Out there, way on the horizon over there, if I can zoom in a little bit. There we are. That line on the horizon, that's Col, Tyree's behind it. Way out on the horizon out there, you'd be able to see Barra and the Uists if it was a bit clearer. I could see them yesterday, actually. I was at Benvironment and I could see them. And way over there, behind the lighthouse, is Rum. You don't want to play catch with that, do you? Really? Really? Oh man, got a friend for life there. Wish I was half as nimble as he is. Imagine it must spend its whole time playing with tourists. It's funny, isn't it? It's a thing you just do. You just come to the coast in general, sit down on a rock, plonk yourself down on the beach and just stare outwards. Or in particular, we come to these cardinal points. We come to these extreme points of the country, the ones which are furthest north, furthest south, east or west. It's funny why we should focus on them in particular. I mean, I'm sure there is a most north-northwesterly point, a most east-southeasterly point in the country, and which is every bit an extremity as the other extremities of our land, and yet it's the north, south, east, west ones that we focus on and fixate on. The most northerly point, of course, being Dunnet Head. The most northwesterly point being Cape Wrath, where I was close to at Sandwich Bay the other week. Northeast is what? Duncansby Head, not John O'Groats. And then of course, I think south is the Mull of Galloway. I don't know what the eastmost point is. Anyway, none of them are more spectacular or more valid than any other place along the coastline, and yet they do have this draw that we like to go and sit. I mean, I've been to Dunnet Head, Duncansby Head, Cape Wrath. They do have this draw that you have to go and sit and actually stare out to sea. Even dogs, it seems. Even dogs want to stare out to sea. I mean, it's not something that's limited to just this country, people in this country, because we're an island, sort of going to our extremities like Land's End and places like that. Speaking of which, this is the most westerly point, more westerly than Land's End, which I think is another 20 miles west of Land's End. And you wouldn't think it when you see it on the map. It feels like Cornwall sort of juts out, but when you actually see, you know, we're kind of tilted a bit to the west, I think, the country generally. So Cornwall dips down a bit and Ardnamurchan sticks out further. So Ardnamurchan is the westernmost point. But anyway, other countries do, of course, have these extremities. I mean, I went to this very, very south of the south coast of New Zealand down to Bluff, and it's got, you know, the signpost there saying London 10,000 miles, whatever it is. It's got, like, you know, there is this thing that everyone does anyway. That's why people go to the North Pole and the South Pole and to the top of Everest, I suppose. It's trying to go to the extreme places in the world. Not that this is extreme by any sense, although it is a bit of an odyssey to get to Ardnamurchan. It's 40 something miles, I think, from the Corran Ferry at Loch Linney, and it's a tortuous single track road. I mean, it's beautiful, winding, hilly, you know, with blind bends and blind summits, and it's well worth the effort to come out here. It's very, very beautiful. So it does require some effort to get here, but not like going to the North Pole or the South Pole. But I think the principle's kind of the same in a way. It is this sort of wanting to go to the ends of the earth, or to the end of the road, essentially, and this is very much the end of the road. And when we do get here, what do? We plonk down. There were some people sat behind me just now, actually. I think they were German tourists. Everyone's sitting there having the sandwiches. It's a universal thing. Sitting there, staring out to sea, contemplating, or, as the case when I was younger, sitting in a car park with your windscreen wipers going while the rain hammers on the windscreen. It's my enduring memory of going to the ends of roads and top of cliffs, places in Cornwall down to Land's End, the windscreen wipers going. Very, very different day today, and I'm very, very pleased it is. It's beautiful.